Hello there everyone, how you doing today? I hope you're all well. Today we're going into r/malicious compliance, where people follow orders to the exact definition of what they were told to enact revenge on their bosses, or just shitty people in general. If you enjoy, remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Absentee boss wants me to increase the daily order against my suggestion? Well, you got it. I used to work at an upscale-ish cafe. I was a supervisor and in charge of the bakery section. There was also a kitchen and a coffee bar. Now, Mother's Day was our biggest day of the year by a huge margin, like it would be close to or triple our daily sales for a regular Sunday. Now, mid-grade holidays would also be busy, and after every big holiday sales day, the sales for the next day would be around 50 to 60% of normal, so I would order about 2/3 of my regular order for that Monday. Now, our owner was a somewhat absentee from our store. She owned 5 locations, 4 of them were in the same city. Ours was the outlier in a smaller location about 2 hours away. She spent almost all of her time at the 4 locations, and maybe visited us once a month. This month, she just happened to come on her day after Mother's Day. I can add that all of the employees, only the assistant manager liked the owner. Even the manager couldn't stand her. She saw that my bakery case was somewhat low and asked why. I explained that the day after holidays were always slower and I ordered less because I didn't want to waste money. She told me to never do that again. She in fact told me to double my normal order. Now, I'd been in this job for 4 years by this point and I knew that bakery section inside and out. Also, at this point, only the manager and one of the cooks had been there longer than me. Even the manager told me that things were always better when I was there. I always stayed late to cover call-ins, often came in on my day off if they needed me. I even once drove a catering delivery 90 minutes each way to satisfy a loyal customer. I told the owner that today was a special circumstance, and that doubling the order would lead to a ton of food waste, and I recommended that we not do it. With my regular daily orders, we usually ran out only near the end of the day, barring unforeseen circumstances like somebody coming in and doing a big pastry order without notice. This was from a lot of trial and error over the years, and I changed my order up whenever things looked like they were changing. But she insisted, even after the manager also told her that our regular order was fine. I tried again to tell her and she just told me to do it. My manager also said it by that point, so I did it. I doubled my regular order. After about 2 weeks, she emailed me and asked why we were throwing so many pastries away every day. I told her that she told me to double my order. At that point, my boss says she wanted to fire me. My boss convinced her that she needed me to help run the store, which she probably did, so I wasn't fired, but I lost my position as bakery lead. I was still a supervisor who worked the bakery section, but I no longer ordered product. Still the same wage, but I was switched from mostly mornings to mostly nights. While I did miss my morning regulars, I also enjoyed making the same money for less responsibility. About 6 months later, the manager quit to go back to school, and the place went downhill fast. As I said, everyone working there hated the owner, except the assistant manager who had quit about a month before this for a new job. As soon as this happened, I started looking for a new job, even though I hated changing jobs. So did a number of others. Everyone was loyal to the manager, nobody to the owner. I took a supervisor job at a nearby restaurant and never looked back. I'm told by some co-workers who are still there that it became difficult to get through the day without me and the manager there, and we lost a lot of sales for over a year before they started picking things up back again. Oh, you can't get simple office accessories? Well, then I'll bring my own. 12 to 13 years ago, on my very first job, I was hired as a network administrator at a newly established state-owned company. Everything was new there, including processes to request office accessories. So I was settled in an office room with bare minimum office accessories. So I wrote down several simple items to request them from support department. At then, it was just a guy. Later, it turned into a 30-plus person department. Items included simple things such as facial tissues, a cloth hanger, it was winter and I had nowhere to put my jacket, a headset, 3 colors of pen, and a whiteboard and markers and wiper. The support department guy took a look at the list and continued with excuses about each items. Facial tissues are for non-managers. Pens you can request only blue once a week if you bring the previous empty pen. Whiteboard and its accessories are also only for managers. So's the cloth hanger. Like, are non-managers not allowed to have a jacket? And as for the headset, he just laughed, like, welcome to a state-owned company, young one. I just realized how different are desks of non-managers and managers. It was these simple things, and I really didn't care spending myself. I was just wondering why others haven't yet. So the next day I came in with a facial tissue box with a beautiful design, a really good short cloth hanger for my set, good pens of all colors, and a light white glass as a whiteboard, some markers to hang behind my chair and my own gaming headset, and a nice plate full of my hand-chosen sweets. My chair looked perfect! I really mean it, especially when all the other desks in the other rooms were just copy-paste of the same sick idea. It wasn't even looking better than a manager's desks. By the end of the day, every manager and non-manager that came to my room, their first impression was looking jealously to everything for several seconds, and then asked me how did the support department give me these items. My answer, just normally with the same proud in my tone, the company's rules are written by beggars. These are my own, and it cost me nothing to make my room look like this. The next day, the support department guy came to my room, told me to take all your stuff home and I'll give you the same as everyone. I replied, "Oh, but I'm not a manager! I'm not a manager!" He said, "We changed the rules. Everyone deserves these things now." I've had to supply my own keyboard, mouse, headset, and memory upgrade for my desktop computer when I was working for a broke company that was rescued from insolvency by venture capitalists. They were so tight with spending it was crazy. When they sold us, I thought things would get better. But the new company wasted tons of money and then made a bunch of us redundant. It was absolutely wild. The endless cleaning loop. So this happened while I was working at a convention center that was, not a good place to work. They sucked. Management was absolutely poster boy MBA idiocy 99% of the time, and that other 1% was trying to figure out how to make it 100%. For example, they hired a security guy just to keep homeless folks from crashing on the couches, and then tried to fire him when the homeless problem just went away. Yeah, this type of genius. The type that thinks everyone not in an office with an MBA is below them. Something they made clear abundantly, even as they constantly failed to figure things out like, you can't stick 12 10-foot tables in a row, that's 100 feet long. Yes, the application lets you make the room larger, but we lack that space-time bending technology. Anyway, they were the type of people who believed that the menial peons of lesser departments should never be relaxing. Work for the purpose of pointless work. Getting a job done better or faster just means getting penalized. So one day, about 6 months before COVID, they hand down this new rule. Our job was setting down and taking down sets, as well as cleaning, both for events and in general. They let the janitorial staff go and folded those jobs into our department to save cash. Of course. Well, they decide that if there are 2 new rules we need to follow. 1. Always be cleaning. We are to clean on a loop endlessly, even on floors that aren't in use that day, so that the customers can see how busy we're keeping things nice. So we did the loop and no one's come in. Well, do it again, top to bottom. You should never be off your feet, you lazy peons. So lazy. And number 2. We were no longer allowed to leave cleaning materials, carts, vacuums, etc. anywhere but their assigned location, which was now a back room on a bottom floor. If anyone asks you to do anything, you have to go put all that back. No exceptions. We pointed out how that was stupid, but we're just laughable idiots who couldn't get a business degree. What do we know about work? Ha! So we complied, and suddenly everything was late. We got a call to get some chairs. Well, I was cleaning unused tables on another floor. I have to pack everything up, put it away on the slow elevator. Then I can go do that. Even if a customer asked me, suddenly we're getting complaints that everything takes too long. Management even protested a few times with, "What are you doing on that floor?" "Cleaning, like you told us to." Did they learn? Of course not. A few months later, they took away the break room even. We could still have breaks. It was the law, it just wasn't supposed to be in the building to prevent laziness. Meanwhile, we were still endlessly looping on cleaning, then taking 5 or so minutes to pack up every time we had to do something, then another 5 minutes to unpack and get back, sometimes several times in a few minutes, making 3 quick errands for an event taking a half hour. They didn't learn, but we complied, much to the complaint of everyone. And then COVID hit. They took the PPP loan and then fired everyone. Dear Lord, man, that is terrible. Oh my God. Ugh. ASM gives more work and it backfires spectacularly. So I work at a Home Depot as a lot associate. My main job duties involve collecting carts from the lot and being on call to help customers load heavy items into their vehicles. Since I'm typically the only lot person scheduled during my shift, this means I'm running back and forth trying to help customers and get carts. It really is a job that needs 2 people, one on each end of the store, but oh well, it's just me. Now I can usually handle this, but when I'm assigned other projects on top of that, well, as a normal person with normal thinking skills can imagine, it's too much. On one such day, the head cashier, the supervisor, who we'll call Karen, usually a nice lady but has Karen tendencies, as you will see, told me that Kyle had such a project for me. He wanted me to clean out an area at the side of the store and move a bunch of carts there. This was going to take at least a couple of hours because the area was such a mess. And since this was during the summer, when the store was busier than usual, I would be constantly interrupted with loading calls and trying to maintain the lot. And this is where the malicious compliance comes in. Kyle wanted me to focus on cleaning that area, which I did. It ended up taking 5 hours. Bear in mind that I also answered several loading calls during that time. The problem? I didn't spend any of that time collecting carts, so after those 5 hours, the lot was a huge mess of carts scattered about. Karen was not happy about it, as she gets really picky about the lot being free of carts, but I looked her dead in the eye and told her I was just doing what her and Kyle told me to do. I then went on lunch while associates from other departments had to round up all the carts. After that, Kyle never asked me to take on other projects, thankfully. You accuse us of time theft and being unproductive, then looked forward to an inbox full of unnecessary reports. I work in premium customer service at a bank where we serve the bank's higher value customers. This usually gave us more freedom because, unlike in traditional customer service, the focus is more on quality than quantity. However, we were accused of time theft because we didn't log out for 2 minutes to go to the bathroom. All of a sudden, we had to report whether we were or were not productive. Many of us were threatened with warnings that could lead to us losing our jobs. And even if we just needed to talk to other colleagues about customer cases, we had to let them know. Otherwise, we could be accused of unproductive behavior. And well, we complied. A little too ambitiously, might I add. Every time we went to the bathroom, we reported it to our project managers by email. Every time we went to get a drink, we reported it. Every time we took a break, we reported it. Every time we talked to a colleague about a customer case, each of the 2 colleagues reported it separately to the project managers by email. Every time we left our computers, no matter what it was for, we reported it by email to the project manager's mailbox. After a while, the project manager's mailbox was so full that even important emails were overlooked, because there were too many of them. The project managers were completely overwhelmed, and soon afterwards, the rules were abolished yet again. That is the end of today's video. If you enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Check out my other channels while you're at it potentially, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.